Hello again. This is a very brief video because I just wanted to draw attention to the kind of thing which we now take for granted and scarcely even causes us to raise our eyebrows. I've been looking through my morning paper and I just thought I'd mention a few of the typical news items I've come across. I've mentioned before the number of foreign doctors in Britain and the way that they are far more likely to be the subjects of complaints and disciplinary actions than those trained in this country. Because of the way that medical schools in Britain now recruit students, there are concerted efforts to reduce the numbers of white British students and to ensure that the student body reflects the community, as the modern jargon has it. This is done by means of contextual offers. It's a fairly complex process involving postcodes and schools that underachieve. The end result is to increase the number of ethnic minority students at Russell Group universities and medical schools. This policy, though, is of dubious value. The news story at which I want to look today combines another previous topic about which I have spoken, and that is the number of horrible crimes we now see which were all but unknown in Britain until a few years ago. Things like throwing acid in somebody's face or murdering people by setting fire to them. 25-year-old Milad Ralph, who is of Asian heritage, studied medicine at Cardiff University with a woman called Rim Alloy, who is of the same ethnicity. For reasons at which we can only guess, in May, Ralph turned up at Alloy's home and knocked on the door. He was wearing a mask, and when she opened the door, he sprayed concentrated sulfuric acid in her face. Needless to say, she was terribly injured. This is a kind of offence once unknown in Britain, but now cropping up fairly regularly in the news. Those involved almost invariably do not have names like Dave Smith or Bill Jones. Dr. Ralph has pleaded guilty to the crime and a psychiatric report is being prepared. Can one imagine a British doctor doing a thing such as this in the 1950s or 1960s? Probably not. I give a link above to the newspaper article about this atrocious crime, and I show the criminal and his victim in the thumbnail to this video. What else do we find in the same edition of the paper? A vicious homophobic attack in Birmingham, in which two white men and a white woman were injured when a group of Asians attacked them and abused them because of their sexual orientation. Many news reports about this omit the fact that the criminals were of Indian or Pakistani appearance. A postman called Mudathir Khamis has been stealing letters containing credit cards and then using them himself. He's been sent to prison for a couple of years. Hundreds more illegal immigrants have landed in Kent, and the government now plans to spend £2 million on a new immigration centre there, because the previous accommodation wasn't really up to scratch and was criticised for being too cramped. According to Lucy Morton, speaking on behalf of the Border Force and Immigration Officers Union, the new building will be carpeted, there will be seats and storage facilities for immigrants' clothes and personal belongings, as well as facilities to provide food and drink for them. Presumably there will also be staff to tuck them in at night, read them a bedtime story and then bring them breakfast in bed the following morning. I dare say that readers will know by now that with the collapse of Afghanistan, Britain has agreed to bring thousands of refugees back to Britain with them. Great. I was worrying a little bit that we might be running out of new immigrants, but it seems there's no danger of that happening anytime soon. One final little snippet. I spoke yesterday about Francis Drake and the way in which many people now seem eager to denigrate one of the men who saved England from being invaded and occupied by Spain in the 16th century. Down in Devon at Tavistock, where Drake was born, there is an old statue of him. The local council reviewed this statue in the wake of the Black Lives Matter disorders last year, and they've now decided to put up a plaque telling us that he brutally attacked African communities. It will also mention that he looted and plundered Spanish towns in Europe and throughout their empire in the Americas. I don't know, perhaps it's had something to do with the war we were fighting against the Spanish. These are just a few of the utterly depressing things in my newspaper this morning, and they tell us a great deal about the state of Britain today. We have trained as a doctor, a man who has thrown sulphuric acid in a woman's face. We are spending millions of pounds to make illegal immigrants feel at home. And of course we're doing our best to find bad things to say about one of the greatest of English heroes.